Welcome back to the news. The debate on the resolution adopted by the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva recently was taken up in Parliament today.
The agreement signed with Ban Ki-moon clearly stated that this investigation was for the final stages of the conflict. It was the previous government that appointed committees to conduct these investigations. We make promises to the international community and appoint commissions, and these commissions submit reports. But these reports don't come out of the president's drawer for 9 years. There was a report compiled by Maxwell Parnagama, but it was never presented. But we tabled it. The people of this country have the right to know about this. Sometimes, if you just take some time to study these reports, you will find that these reports contain more grave recommendations than the recommendations made in Geneva. Certain Tamil factions fought a war with this country's lawful armed forces. The war was ended, and after ending it, we put up media charades. I thought of more serious consequences to this. Why? Because the CNN and BBC showed how our people were celebrating with milk rice, dancing, eating cow, and how our president arrives, eats cow, and goes to the next function. These were all media charades. Meanwhile, international media was airing footage of the north, where skinny children who have suffered during the war are waiting in line at orphanages with a plate in their hands just for a piece of bread. So who put that impression upon the world? If we clear the internal issues that we had in our country, we should solve these issues in a respectable way. Nelson Mandela was not a leader like this. He's what you call an international leader. Because what did he say? He said, don't celebrate revenge. That is what he called diplomatic leadership. But what did we do? If we continue what Mahinda Rajapaksa started, that is wrong. So at least now, let's rectify those mistakes, and no matter what resolution has been passed and what co-sponsorship has been made, we can work according to the laws of our country. Today there are still soldiers who call on Mahanayakas. These disabled soldiers tell these Mahanayakas that they have no answers to their sorrows. What the Rajapaksa regime did was that they sold tickets at army camps and stage shows, motorbike shows and stage car races. This government is doing the same thing. Now every soldier is selling tickets for 2,500 rupees, and if they fail to make any sales, that money will be deducted from their wages. The initial process on implementing law on war crimes and genocide came into effect after the Second World War. We all know the process created at the Nuremberg War Tribunal and the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal. Here, 4 principles based on the Soviet Union, French law and the Anglo-Action law was agreed upon. The first principle was on who initiated the mass conspiracy and invasion. The second was to file legal cases against those who carried out crimes against peace and who acted against peace based on a recommendation by the Soviet Union. The third was, if war crimes, genocide, mass abductions and acts against war prisoners were committed, measures were taken against these crimes. Moreover, a decision was made to take measures against crimes against humanity. So it was based on these 4 principles that the Nuremberg War Tribunal and the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal heard these cases, faced around the world and enacted these laws. So when comparing these 4 principles, it is quite evident that the Sri Lankan government nor the Sri Lankan security units have implemented a process such as this. If there were cases where an act against the state, against democracy, mass conspiracies or invasion, these were committed by the LTTE, not the Sri Lankan Armed Forces. What should we as a country do to overcome these challenges the country is facing? This political consensus is of utmost importance for the process of revealing the truth as to what actually happened, who carried out these killings, how were they carried out and who assisted in them. And if there are certain crimes committed, a special court should be established in accordance with the constitution of the country. It is important that we reiterate that these crimes should be heard in accordance with the Sri Lankan judicial system. As far as I believe, it is because we did not implement the recommendations of the 2009 resolution that the resolutions which were tabled in 2012, 2013 and 2014 were adopted at the UNHRC in Geneva. But now we have received another opportunity, and like I said before, we must make maximum use of this opportunity. Some wise MPs here try to show that it was because of the weaknesses of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and his government that this problem has aggravated to this. There was no agreement between Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the Foreign Ministry. It was merely a joint statement. I will read the Sinhalese translation of this. The Secretary General states the importance of a process to ensure international human rights and humanitarian law and accountability of human rights violations, and the required measures should be taken on the sorrows of these victims. This is why several commission reports were compiled. Whether these sufferings were true and were there so many incidents. These were the essential measures. Nowhere in the statement does it say that an agreement has been signed to conduct a hybrid or domestic investigation and surrender the security forces. So this operation of handing over this country is being carried out based on a lie. I listened to all these statements and I will not tell anyone that what they said was wrong. Either they are not fully aware of this resolution or have not read the entire document, or they do not want to table it. This MP is saying that this was not implemented according to the laws of the country. It clearly states that it is imperative to get the certification of the judiciary in Sri Lanka.
මේකේ පැහැදිලිවම හයි තියෙනවා ඇතුළු ශ්‍රී ලංකා අධිකරණ යාන්ත්‍රණයක බලය යටතේ බව මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තවදුරටත් වැදගත් වන බවට සාතික කිරීමට කැමැත්තෙමි.